Hi friends, and welcome to Heaventobetsy Conversations About Life. I'm Betsy de Vega and I'm your host. Today we're going to do something a little bit different. I'm going to do an interview and I'm going to have my boyfriend who's off camera, but his name is Andrew Thomas. Hi Andrew!
Hi!
He's going to interview me. I do want to do a few interviews and I thought, you know what? Before I do the interviews, maybe I need to have someone interview me. I thought this would be a different way of doing things. Really mainly because I want to express to you why I do Heaventobetsy, why this podcast is so special to me. So I thought maybe I'd make this episode even a little more personal. I can't promise my emotions. You know me, I told you I was an empath. So I'm going to try to keep it together, but there may be tears and laughter. More tears than anything else in this episode, but let's see what happens. But I just want to let you in even a little closer to who I am. Well, with that said, let's go ahead and pass over the mic to Andrew, who's going to ask me some questions. So I'm on the hot seat. Ready or not, here we go.
Okay. Betsy, a lot of people know your voice from the podcast, but what do you wish more people know about your journey?
So I wish more people knew that my journey was not an easy journey. Mostly I was very blessed. But I've had a pretty extensive journey so far in my 55 years of life. I'd like other people to know that they're not alone in their journey, and no matter what, you can get through anything with God at your helm.
All right, you mentioned that you came from America at the age of 3. Can you take us back to that time, and what experience was that like?
Well, I can definitely take you back to that time. I really can't tell you what the experience was like because I was so young. I was 3 years old when I came to America. So I wasn't born in America. I was born in Cuba. I left Cuba before I was a year old. From there we went to Spain. My brother was born in Spain. And then from there we went to Costa Rica. And in Costa Rica my parents had to set everything up for us to be able to come to America. At that time, in order for Cubans to be able to come to America, you had to have a child claim you. So I was the oldest child, so I was the only one that could claim my parents. My uncles were already here in America in Houston, and so they took me in, but I had never met them. They may have met me when I was born, but I was so little I don't remember, and then that's when I met them. So my mom sacrificed so much. So today is Memorial Day, and I'm just thinking of all the veterans and everyone in America and all the sacrifices people have made. And I just think of the sacrifices my parents made to be able to have my brother and I grow up in this country. And they're not in the military at all, and this has nothing to do with these beautiful military and servicemen and women who've sacrificed their lives for us today. But it does remind me of the sacrifices people make to be in this country and to fight for freedom. So, yeah, my parents put me on an airplane. Can you imagine? Their 3-year-old child on an airplane to be able to come to America, praying and hoping, because back then they didn't have internet, they didn't have a way to get in touch with people. They only had Western Union, which would take several days to get to the other person, and long distance was very expensive. So my mom sacrificed and prayed and put in God's hands to bring me to America so that I could get them here and we could all live in freedom.
Next question. You went on to run a successful business and then start a private school. What inspired you to create a school specifically for neurodivergent children? And why don't you explain what neurodivergence is in children?
Okay. So neurodivergence is kind of your resource kids. They kind of fall through the cracks. You've got your high-functioning autism, your ADHD, your dyslexia, learning concerns. Those are the kiddos that I mainly worked with. My biggest population, though, was anxiety. Were children with anxiety and depression. I loved working with those babies, even though it was challenging and difficult. It was so rewarding. And I'm so sorry, you'll have to repeat the question because I just forgot the other part. of the question.
What inspired you to create a school?
Oh, well, my absolute love and passion is children. I love working with children. My mother's a retired school teacher. Education's in my blood. And I actually ran a school. I was administrator of a Montessori school. And then I did cognitive skills training before starting this school. When I did the cognitive skills franchise, there was something missing, and I wanted to do something to kind of gap that missing part. And when this opportunity...
Tell me about the opportunity. How did the opportunity present itself?
So I owned a franchise that was a cognitive skills training franchise. I was one of the top 10 in the nation. I was getting ready to close it though, because business-wise it was very difficult to run. Beautiful program, the business model didn't work for me. So, but in the end I ended up doing a brain symposium at one of the universities, local universities. I'd invited therapists, neurologists, the owner of the franchise, just a bunch of experts in mental health and cognitive skills and learning. And I had met someone who had started a school similar to what I wanted to start in a dojo, which would be a martial arts center. And she had talked to me about it, and she asked me if I would be interested in opening up a middle school at that time. I didn't want a high school at that time, in my center. And I thought, there it is. That's the missing point to my program. And so I started it at that facility. And when I saw that facility, I wanted to continue the school. So I took it to my home. From there, I had lots of divine intervention. And it was amazing. Doors opened and the school kept growing, and I had it for 15 years, and it grew into a beautiful, very flourishing program.
So you mentioned 15 years. What are the rewarding aspects throughout those 15 years with your children? Tell me some of your success stories.
Really, most of them were success stories. Any child that I was honored and privileged enough to work with was a success story, in my eyes at least. I worked with babies that, if they didn't come to my school, they may not be with me today. They may not be here on earth today. This makes me emotional.
Tell me some of the aspects of how you dealt with the children, how you helped them move on, and give me some examples of where they are now.
Okay. Some of our kiddos that we took on had been bullied in school. I told you majority of them that I worked with had anxiety and depression. We had a couple of babies that had high functioning autism. When they came to our school, they had been bullied. We had one child that was physically hurting themselves. We had another child that had been kicked out of their school because they were becoming a behavior issue. We were not a behavior school, but because of what was happening to them and they weren't being heard, they were becoming a behavioral issue. They came to our school and they did amazing. One child just graduated with a physics undergrad. Had another student graduate early, go on to university and get a PhD in neuroscience. We've had so many amazing, amazing stories. But the ones that are more significant are the ones that survived, that weren't going to make it. They were at their wits' end. Mom and Dad came to me and said, we need help. And they made it, and they survived, and they're flourishing now.
Okay, so let's talk about the season where everything seemed to fall apart. Your Parkinson diagnosis, your divorce, the pandemic, and the tragedy of losing your business and your property. How did you even begin to process all that?
gosh, I think I'm still processing some of it. But, yeah, it was a hard season. It's been a very hard season. What got me through was my faith. That's what got me through, and the belief that there is something better out there for you, and one foot in front of the other. And that's why I wanted to do this podcast, because if it weren't for a few amazing friends and my beautiful family, I may not have made it through. But I'm here, and I think there is more to this story than I thought.
Tell me about the moments where you wanted to give up. Tell me more specifically about the Parkinson's, about your aspect with the deep brain stimulator and that surgery, and how you got through it.
Well, I found out I had Parkinson's in 2016. And at first, I thought I would fight it, and then I feel like it took over. It got the best of me, and I think it's because I know my capabilities, and I felt like I was limited in some of those capabilities, and I feel like some other people who don't understand Parkinson's reacted differently to me. And ultimately, 2 years ago, when everything came to a head, when I truly lost my business and my health had declined, I had surgery that summer for my heart, and within 2 months I had the DBS, which is brain surgery. And in between that, I found out I had a mini stroke too. So, honestly, the reason I got through it is because I was at my rock bottom, and I thought, it's either this or I'm gone. So might as well try to do something good, and if it's not the end for me, maybe I can turn this around and continue to help others in a different way.
What changed you after those surgeries? Mentally, emotionally, spiritually? What changed?
Probably the biggest thing that changed after those surgeries is my focus on me, taking care of me. I've coined that the oxygen mask mantra. I realize now that if I'm not available and I'm not good, then what good am I for anybody else? Mainly my own children, and then for other children that I want to help. So that's probably the biggest thing that I took away from these surgeries. And they were 2 pretty severe surgeries, so I'm still dealing with them, but I'm so much better.
Okay, let's talk about starting over. After losing so much, how did Heaventobetsy come into the picture, and what made you start the podcast?
This is something I've been wanting to do for a really, really long time. When I had the school, I had a program called the Help Seminars with an amazing friend of mine who was a psychologist. I've been wanting to do something where I can touch other people's lives outside of the limited ability I have in person. So when this all happened to me and I hit rock bottom, I tried to figure out what else I could do, because I didn't want to do a school again. The trauma was too much. So I started thinking about it, and I had a few friends tell me, why don't you try a podcast? And Heaventobetsy's always been something that I've loved, and my friend and old marketing partner had done an article on me called Heaventobetsy, and it just reminded me of that.
So what was the moment when you knew that you were ready to tell your story? Because at the beginning, when I first met you, you were very quiet about what happened to you and what was going on. The fear of having deep brain stimulation surgery, that's a very large decision to make. What were the causes of that?
So, honestly, what got me over the hump to do Heaventobetsy is you. It's, yeah, it was our relationship. It was the fact that you said something to me when we first met.
What did I say?
1 degree above fear. That's what you said. It just takes 1 degree above fear. And I had been doing moment by moment. And I wasn't ready. When we first met, I wasn't ready yet. I was still dealing with a lot of the trauma of what had happened to me, and it still hurts, but now I can get past it. Now I see what God wanted for me. Now I see that there's more out there. And the fact that I made it through those surgeries for my family reminded me that He wasn't done with me yet. And every time that I think about this podcast and whether I need to do it or not, God has a really funny sense of humor with me, and He'll do something or have somebody make a comment to me or say something that reminds me that I need to continue and move forward with this podcast, as scary as it is to me.
Okay, so looking back.
Thanks for making me cry, by the way.
Well, you need a tissue?
It's okay.
Okay. Alright, so looking back, what have you gained through all the emotional stress and all the loss?
Oh, wow. What have I gained? The most important thing I've gained, and I'm still gaining, I'm still learning, is myself. The most important thing that I've gained is my integrity to myself. And I'm not saying that selfishly. I've always put everybody else first. And I'm learning how to now take care of me, so that I can be there for everybody else. And I think that's part of what I want to show in this podcast.
Well, what I've noticed is that you take care of yourself, but you still have the capacity to take care of others, especially the ones you love. Mm-hmm. That doesn't mean the ones you don't love you don't take care of.
Right.
But the point is that your priorities are you first, you know, and that's made you do things that you haven't done before. You've been on a jet ski, you've eaten seafood, you've had a lot of different experiences. So
that I normally don't like.
Right. So,
don't do. Yeah.
Okay, so I got a question here for you. If someone's listening right now and it feels like their world's falling apart, what do you want to say to them?
I want to say that my biggest fear in life was to fail. And it's funny because I used to always teach my kids, you haven't failed until you've given up. I even had a little thing for that. But I realized throughout this process that failure was my biggest fear. I didn't want to fail, and I didn't want to fail as big as I did in front of everyone because I'm a people pleaser. I'm an empath. But what I want you to know is that failure is just a part of life. You're going to fail, but it's how you get back up. It's the fact that you don't give up that's important. It's how you get through life, and sometimes it's okay if getting through life means literally one moment at a time. Literally, like Andrew said, 1 degree above fear.
Okay. What does healing look like for you now? Where does your future feel like it's going to go? Where do you want it to go?
I want it to be happy, peaceful. I want to be around my family and friends. I just want to enjoy life and my last third of my life. So where do I want it to be? I want it to be sunshine, nature, travel, peace, So I don't want the stress anymore. You know, you've told me so many times about starting a school again. I don't want to start a school again because I don't want the stress. I want to help others. I definitely want to continue to help children. But there's got to be other ways I can do that. And I will continue to do that because that's my passion, my mission, and my love. But I want to just enjoy what God made on this earth for all of us to live.
Well, we also discussed ways to take what you know and put it online. Sort of like the same thing you did with your school, with the parents, with the children, and have it called Nile Online.
Yeah.
What does Nile stand for?
Nile is knowledge plus intelligence equals learning excellence. There's actually 2 parts to SMART, and I wanted to blend those together, and that's what it is. There's knowledge base, there's your intelligence base, which is your cognitive skills, and you put those together and it becomes learning excellence. And that's why in this podcast you'll see me do cognitive skills training in addition to other conversations, because I think it's so important that we work on the ability to learn and in our cognitive skills. We need that even as adults. I can tell you, as a Parkinson's person, as a Parky, I desperately need that. And those that, as we're getting older with Alzheimer's and dementia, it's critical.
Okay, so in conclusion, you say you have 2 minutes to talk to your audience. Go ahead.
What do I want to say, or?
You have 2 minutes.
Gosh, there's so much to say in 2 minutes. Boy, I really am put on the hot seat. I guess what I want to say is what I always end my podcast with, and that is to smile a little, pray a lot, and you're not alone. We're going to get through this crazy thing we call life together. That's what I want you to know. Be the best versions of yourself. Don't worry about anybody else. That's something that I had to learn the hard way. You're going to have your fans and you're going to have your enemies, and that's okay. That's life. Don't worry about what they do or say. Worry about you. And you're going to get through it. One conversation at a time. God bless and take care, and thank you for listening and being a part of my journey.
Thank you for this time. Bye.
Bye.